Hi, my name is Taylor Sunderland, and today I'm going to give you a short video presentation on my research and my findings that I did for our researched genre essay. So the problem I was investigating is how students at UTRGV in the communications department fall victim to gender stereotyping. I did a lot of primary research on people who have already looked into advertising and different articles that state that there is gender stereotyping, but none of those articles or my primary research really discussed why people fall victim to it, which is more the psychology behind the topic, and that's what I wanted to get into. So my solution to this problem was to go out and find a male and a female that I could interview and ask them why they think they personally fall victim to gender stereotyping. And these two interviewees were in fact students at UTRGV in the communications department. So really quick, what I want to do is I want to take 1 minute for you to pull out any social media you have. Either it can be Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and I want you to scroll through your feed for 1 minute and find anything that you feel is gender biased or gender stereotyped. It could be someone's status that they put, it could be an advertisement you see on this social media, or something that someone just commented on a picture and said something that was gender biased. So go ahead and take 1 minute to do that. So during this 1 minute that you're going to be looking at your social media feeds, I want you to go ahead and count how many things you see are gender biased, and that's going to be the short activity, is to just count how many things you see, and then in the comment box below you can go ahead and comment how many things you saw that were gender biased. This is just a little activity for you to become more aware of how you see things every day and how much you're exposed to it. And this is something that I see every day, and it's kind of sparked my interest. So I want you guys to go ahead and comment how many things you saw were gender biased. So my first article that I mentioned in my research essay was impacts of advertisements that are unfriendly to women and men. This is by Van Helmont, Corin, and Hild van der Bulk. I don't really know how to pronounce his last name. But what they do is they go into artifact collection. That's their method of researching if there is gender bias in advertisements. And they found that there was a lot. My second article was Gender in Print Advertisements, a Snapshot of Representations Around the World. So what they do is they don't only look into national gender bias in advertising, but they go into worldwide. And they discover that there is a lot of gender bias worldwide. My third article focuses on sexist talk and how people in their everyday lives will participate in gender stereotyping just talking to each other one-on-one. And this was interesting because they got into a focus group and they presented people with the topic of why girls shouldn't go into male sports and why males shouldn't go into female sports, like men like male ballet or female football, stuff like that. And a lot of interesting topics came up where men would always focus on the aesthetics of women. That's, oh, they're gonna get their face messed up or their teeth knocked out. But with men, it was just like, well, that's not manly. And that was that was just how they talked in their everyday life. My fourth article actually focuses on like the way you acquire language acquisition, and how that has a lot to do with gender stereotyping. So, for example, in Spanish, you can't really have as much gender stereotyping as English because you have pre-designated genders for words such as like doctor and doctora. You already have that separation of gender within the word itself. And then my fifth and last article actually just again looks back and reiterates the fact that there is gender stereotyping, but it also gives some unique solutions to it, which is like change laws. But what I figured is that laws don't really change the way people think. In fact, it actually grounds people's beliefs even more in some cases. Like I said, none of these articles go into the psychology behind why people would want to participate in gender stereotyping. And what I found is that with my two interviewees, I found that a lot of what causes gender stereotyping is culture. So one of the girls I interviewed, she said that she broke up with this guy she was going out with because he wore too short of shorts and too girly colored of shirts. And she felt like every time she went out with him, she was hanging out with a closeted gay guy, which I thought was really interesting. And that's one way that she chose to participate in gender stereotyping, but it's because how her father dressed, or her father taught her there's a certain way men should dress and a certain way women should dress. And the man said he grew up with the mentality that women should stay at home and men should go out and work and provide for their families. And that's a very primitive way of thinking because we feel like we've moved past that, but in reality we haven't. And well, in the Mexican culture, because all of their answers were tied back to why the Hispanic culture has really drilled in morals and values and the way they look at things and the way they look or treat the opposite gender. So that was their main reason. I found it interesting that media was only mentioned once in both of my interviews, and the only thing that was mentioned was like, why does Kim K get a bunch of negative comments or feedback on her nude pictures when Justin Bieber, John Stamos, Mark Wahlberg, they all have nude pictures on the internet, and we don't hear about all that negative commentary that they receive once their nude pictures are put up on social media. And that was just the only time media was ever mentioned. So I found that culture is really the main reason why people would want to participate in gender stereotyping. So in my conclusion, one thing that I would recommend you do in order to stop all this gender stereotyping that goes on in our everyday lives is, one, become more aware of it. Do more stuff like the activity that you previously did, just to see how much you're really being exposed to. Once you see how much you're really being exposed to all this, I want you to really evaluate how you may participate in gender stereotyping yourself, because whether you're conscious of it or not, you can really hurt people's feelings or make people feel like they're not capable of doing something just because they're a male or female. The third thing that I would really recommend you do is, whenever you see someone participating in gender stereotyping, go ahead and just let them know, like, hey, just because she's a female doesn't mean she can't squat 200 pounds, or just because he's a man doesn't mean he can't join ballet or do sports that males don't typically do. And then this will eventually teach ourselves, our kids, and our future generations that we can stop gender stereotyping, and we have the power to change our own culture. Thank you.